Just follow along and I'll try to read the best, most pertinent parts to us today. It's kind of like a Father's Day message because it kind of comes across like fatherly wisdom. Like a dad of many years seasoned who's able to say to us in kind of a quiet, grounded way, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like to have God at the center of your life. This is what wisdom looks like. There's a settledness to it. It's not anxious. It's not striving. There's a quietness to it. Karen and I were talking about yesterday, like a humility in accepting how life is. And so in chapter 7, we're going to get a little chat from our Heavenly Father, a little Father's Day challenge toward wisdom and toward accepting what God has given us just as it is. So if you have your Bibles, the chapter starts like this. It's a good name is better than good oil. The day of one's death is better than the day of one's birth. Once again, he brings up life and death, the beginning of life and the end of life. And he says it's better to go to a house of mourning than feasting, because that's the end of every person, and the living takes it to heart. Like we remember that our days are numbered, and we're not surprised by that. We realize that we are living in a fallen world, and the eternal life that God came to bring us has started, but we have to go through the veil of death first. We have to do that. And there's a sense in which the wise person will take that to heart and never forget how short life is. It's not morbid to think about the end of life. Wise people can do sad. We can see sad movies. We can feel sad emotions. We know that those are real. It's just they're unfinished. The story isn't finished yet, so we feel the sadness. You might think verse 3 sounds strange, but sorrow in some ways is better than laughter. A face is sad, for when a face is sad, a heart may be happy. Do you know what he's describing there? You think, happy and sad at the same time? Haven't you ever felt that? Maybe you've been at a funeral and you're having that meal afterwards, and somebody says something about that person's life and everybody laughs. Sorrow, laughter, we have a word in English for that. It's called bittersweet. Do you know that word? It's painful in ways, and yet there's a sweetness to it. And it says when you don't avoid pain and when you don't avoid the difficulties, you look at them head on, there's a sort of peace or acceptance, a sweetness that comes. It doesn't erase the sorrow. It doesn't take it away. They commingle together. On the one hand, it's sad. And on the one hand, you could begin to sense some sweetness in the sorrow. And this is part of the experience of life. It's part of this. We experience both. And the person who can't do sad is always running around trying to not look at difficult things. It's exhausting because God designed life to have these ups and downs. So if you can't see a sad movie or listen to a sad song or hear a sad story and you just think, I want to be happy, 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 that's not how it works. You don't get happiness by chasing after it. It comes to you when you accept these rhythms in life. And that includes sorrow. So that your face can be sad, but your heart can still be happy. I hope we can grow into that, to where that verse is like, yes, I know what that means. I know what that means. And then it talks about how the foolish person just doesn't want to be sad. They just run around trying to stay positive, and it's exhausting. The laughter of the fool, and this too is futility. And then it says, all through this chapter are things that you can't control. You can't control the day of your death. You just don't have it in your control. It's just, God does not allow us to know that. Now, it's not like have absolutely no influence. Depending on what you choose to do, you can increase your opportunities for death, right? So it's, in the Hebrew way of seeing it, it's like, on the one hand, what you do does make a difference in how you live and the results. But on the other hand, always surprises and always unpredictable things and always stuff you couldn't have planned. So the one and the other live together. It doesn't mean it doesn't, it's not like you say, well, it doesn't matter what I do then, because, I can't predict the future. Well, if you don't put gas in your car, I can pretty well safely predict you're going to run out of gas, okay? So, yes, some of the things we do affect the future in ways that we can pretty much say is going to happen. But a whole nother set of things are outside of our control. And part of wisdom is being able to hold both of those together. What is that famous prayer by St. Francis? I think he says, God grant me the serenity, remember? To what? Help me. To change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. See, wisdom holds both of those things. Some things I can affect, other things I can't affect. You can't affect the pace of life and how fast things happen. The end, verse 8, the end of a matter is better than the beginning, and patience is better than arrogance of spirit. So you can't make things happen faster than they need to happen. If you're impatient, you're always saying, come on, come on, come on, come on. We've got to get going. And patience, though, requires waiting, because the end is more important than the beginning. Anybody can start something. It's easy to start something, but who can stick with it over time, over patience? It takes time. So you're not always controlling how fast things happen. In fact, if you try to do that, you're going to get angry. Do not be eager in your spirit to be angry, for anger resides in the heart of fools. The angry person always wants things to happen differently than they happen, and they're so frustrated all the time. I'm angry because it's not taking the time, it's taking too long, or not enough happened, or I didn't get it accomplished. It says, don't be eager to be angry. A foolish person wants everything to be different. A humble person, a wise person is able to say, it just takes a while. It's going to just take a while. Patience is better than arrogance. And I like verse 10. You might want to bring that up the next time you hear somebody say, I wish it could be like when I was a kid, and blah, 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 blah. Well, it says, it is not from wisdom that you ask about this. So when we look back on the old days and we say, those were the good times, those were the old days, you know what we're doing? We're forgetting a lot of things too. If you look back, you can remember some good things, but we tend to overlook the things that were unfair and unjust. You say, oh, the good old days. Oh, yeah, the good old days. You mean when blacks and whites couldn't drink at the same drinking fountain? You mean those good old days? No, not those good old days. The other good old days. And when you go back and look at it, you see every time period has a mixture. And you can't really say the 50s were better or the 70s were better. What did Carole King say? These are the good old days. These are the days that God has given us. And they have their own problems. But the former days had their problems too. Jumping down a little bit. Verse 13, consider the work of God. Who is able to straighten what he has bent? You might think if life was straight, it'd be easier because it would be more predictable. God doesn't like it that way. He bends it. And it's pointless to try to straighten it. You come to accept this. This is like how life is. Can I settle into that and say, I'm not surprised anymore? Like when something goes bad, it doesn't mean I did something wrong. It doesn't mean, I didn't have my devotions for 3 days, so something bad has to happen. It's just life has its changes that way. Look at verse 13. Consider the work of God, for who is able to straighten what he has bent? On the day of prosperity, great, be happy. On the day of adversity, consider. God has made the one as well as the other. Why? So that a person will not be able to tell or discover what will come after him. What don't you have control of? Tomorrow. You just don't have control of tomorrow. We have a cat named Bonnie. She is an outdoor cat. You can't pick her up. She's definitely ours. We feed her. We got her from a rescue place. But she does not, I've never been able to hold her in my arms. So she needed to go to the vet for her shots this week, yesterday. And to get Bonnie to go to the vet, I have to catch her in a live trap. It's the only way. And I took her to the vet one time before and I caught her in the trap. And I had to do the same thing again. But I think in Bonnie's head, she had some kind of a distant memory of what it was like when she went into when she steps on the thing and it goes and closes, the door closes behind her, right? So I set up the trap on Friday night and I'm watching her. She has wet cat food in there. Our cats don't usually get wet cat food. So this is a real treat. You know how it smells? Yeah, that's what they love, okay? So I have the trap set up and I'm waiting and I'm watching from afar. And Bonnie goes 3/4 of the way into the trap, and she's like, because I set little tidbits to lure her in, and she's getting in, but I can tell she's like, something seems off about this, and so she would back out, and then she would go in a little bit further, and then she'd say, this sure looks like a trap, and she'd back out again. And so I was watching her do this, and she turned and she ran up the sidewalk and sat down right in front of me, watching me. And she looked at me with eyes as if to say, is it safe? She just looked at me. And you know what I thought? What would I say to Bonnie if she could understand me? Here's what I would say. Bonnie, yes and no. I know the question you're asking, Bonnie. You're asking, if I go in there, will the door shut? And will you take me somewhere? And will they poke me with things? That's the question you're asking. So no, Bonnie, it's not safe. But if you're asking a different question, Bonnie, is there someone who loves you and cares for you and knows what you need and is willing to do hard things for you? If that's what you mean by safe, then you are safe. Are you safe? No. Are you safe? Yeah. It's Hebrew. It's both. It's not safe and it's safe. In the Chronicles of Narnia, when Lucy's going up to take a drink at the spring and the lion is there on the side, and she's talking to the lion, and she's afraid of the lion, and she says, is it safe? And he says, no, I'm not safe. I'm good, but I'm not safe. And she says, will you eat me? And Aslan says, I've swallowed up kingdoms. You have to trust me. I'm good. So, when times are good, enjoy. Be happy. When times are adverse, when there's pain and loss, consider God has made the one as well as the other. We won't be able to tell what's coming next. We just won't be able to tell. There's a lady on our street. Well, not on our street, but near our street. And she just found out that she has 6 months, 8 months to live. And I can't imagine what that does to your sense of the future. To go from having no expectation, like to have a normal lifespan and all of a sudden find out you have 6 months or so. How how do you handle that? How do you accept that? I can't speak for her. I don't know exactly how she's doing with that. I think that in the end of the last chapter, 6:10 says this: whatever exists has already been named, and it is known what man is. For you cannot dispute with the one who is mightier than he is. You cannot dispute with the one who is mightier. I mean, you can, but you're not going to win. God has made the one as well as the other. Can you accept it? A couple of the things I wanted to point out to you. The wise person understands that they can't be perfect. Look at verse 20. Indeed, there is not a righteous person on earth who always does good and never sins. And by the way, that was in our psalm today too. Did you notice how much it said, there's no one who is righteous, no one who seeks good, and there's not a righteous person. And don't take it so seriously, the words which are spoken, so you don't hear your servant cursing you, for you know that you have cursed others many times as well. I love that. You get a real thin skin. You hear someone's upset with you, and for doing such and such, and you go, they cursed me? I mean, they said I was an idiot, they said I did it all wrong, and then you think, how many times have I thought that about other people? Wow. I was whining about getting a speeding ticket one time. I was going like 45 and a 35. And it's like, 45 and a 35, I mean, don't they have better things to do? You know, I was just whining about it. And my friend, a wise friend, said, well, maybe, let's say you didn't deserve it. Let's just say that. How many times have you been speeding and you didn't get a ticket? Oh. All right, good point. Kind of took the wind out of my sails, right? You know, somebody's driving really erratically and fast, and you go, what an idiot! And then you think, I've driven erratically and fast. But of course, I had good reasons when I did it, and the other person didn't. This works in so many things. Whatever annoys you about it, think about it. And in some version, you probably do something similar yourself. It kind of humbles you. A wise person doesn't pretend to be righteous or perfect. They say, I've done that. I do that. Yeah, I've felt that way before. And so you get a little bit of a thick skin in life. Sometimes people are going to be upset with you. It's okay. You get upset with people, just, share it around. It's normal, that kind of thing. And anytime you really, your spouse does something that really annoys you, think, don't I do things that really annoy them? I'm sure you do. And if you think you don't, just ask, and you'll be reminded there are things you do that are annoying. I like the way this chapter ends, because part of what he does is he admits what he doesn't know. He says, I'm trying to find an explanation. I'm trying to think it through. I'm trying to just, talk it out. And he says, I've discovered this, adding one thing to another, seeking an explanation, which I'm still seeking, but I haven't found. Isn't that refreshing for someone to say, I haven't figured it out. I mean, I'm still looking. I'm still trying to make sense of it, but I know I can't explain it. I can't explain it. And this is really in the vein of Hebrew wisdom literature. There's a lot of on the one hand, but on the other hand, you can't sort it all out. It's a mystery. And then he says, but you know what? There is one thing. Look at the last verse. There's one thing that I'm pretty sure about, he says, after looking at it all. I have found only this, that God made people upright, but they have sought out many schemes. It's not God's fault. It's almost as if he's saying, O Lord, you have made us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they find their rest in thee. God made people upright, but they've sought out every other way of life. It's like God becomes the last resort. Sorry, Lord, it took me so long. I had to try all these other things. I want a scheme for life that works where I don't have to be trusting you. And I can't seem to find one. So Lord, my heart is restless. Help me find my rest in thee. Dale said it last week. That desire, the yearning, the longing that you have, it can't be found in many schemes. Those things weren't made to handle that. Many of the things in life weren't made to handle the burden that we put upon them. But we find our rest in thee. You know, it's a good thing that we don't have to be perfect. Because none of us could do it as hard as we tried. And that's why grace will always be central in our teaching, in our thinking, and our theology. We're not going to actually have communion today, but the Spirit of grace is still there when we think about what gives us the courage and the ability to keep going when we can't control our lifespan, we can't control our life events, we can't control how fast things happen, and we can't be perfect. We need a kind of grace that covers us, which we're going to sing about in a minute. By the way, the password for the church Wi-Fi is only by grace, because that's the one thing you need to remember. You know how you can't remember those passwords? How many passwords do you have? Right? But if there's one password that you don't want to forget, it's only by grace. And by the way, the Wi-Fi reaches all the way out here. Yeah, it does, oddly enough, because I sit here under